Thank you and welcome everyone. I would like to share with you that we have simultaneous interpretation in English and French. So when you select your preferred language on the computer, please click the globe icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen and select your language. If you're using a mobile phone, kindly click on the three dots at the bottom right corner of your phone and select your preferred language. Everyone can choose a language. There's English and there's French. Okay, welcome everyone to our webinar today. My name is Joy Nasike from Kituo cha Sheria here in Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm from the Advocacy, Governance and Community Partnerships Department. I welcome you all to introduce yourselves in the chat. And as you do so, I'd love to introduce my co-host, co-moderator rather, Mesan. Welcome, Mesan.
Bonjour Joy, bonjour à toutes et bonjour.
Hi Joy, hi everybody. I am Kunak Mesan and I am an executive director of an organization for justice for all in Benin, and I'm really happy to be here with you. I would like to ask to dedicate 1 minute silence for our colleagues that are having a very hard time, the conflict area, and many displaced people. So I would like us to have 1 minute silence for them. Thank you.
Alors, merci beaucoup. Nous allons...
So thanks for the solidarity minute for the RDC. We will now give the floor to Amina and them to Dr. Kituku. Amina is coming from the Isa Wali Empowerment Initiative in Nigeria. She's a regional reference for the movement that is the Grassroots Justice Network for the Western Central Africa. And then we will give the floor to Dr. Kituku, who is another reference. He comes from Kituo Syria organization. So, Amina, you have the floor. Amina is silenced.
Amina, please, we can hear you. Check.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here today as we mark 16 days of activism. I'm speaking both as a proud member of the Grassroots Justice Network family and also as the regional anchor for Western Central Africa. Legal empowerment is truly at the center of the work we do, both across the network and in our organization, Isa Wali Empowerment Initiative. Women and girls, they already face gender-based violence at home, in school, and in the communities. And now digital spaces have become an extension of our homes, workplaces, and learning environments. So for many women and girls in Africa, these spaces are neither safe nor empowering. In fact, online harassment, scams, non-consensual sharing of images, intimidation, identity theft, and even the loss of money from personal bank accounts have become distressingly common for not just women and girls, for everybody. And these forms of digital violence limit women and girls' confidence, their participation, and their sense of safety. So we say that digital violence, it's not just a technology problem, it is a justice problem. It reflects deeper issues of power, inequality, and systems that still fail to protect women and girls as equal digital citizens. For our, yeah, sorry. But yet, so when online spaces are unsafe, women lose their voices, their agency, and their livelihood sometimes. So across the region, we also see hope. We see community paralegals are stepping in to help women and girls understand their digital rights and how to protect themselves. Grassroots organizations are using digital platforms to raise awareness, to share information, and support survivors. And more people are beginning to understand that digital safety is now essential to women's justice, dignity, and agency. So within the Grassroots Justice Network, I see a strong and inspiring movement that is grounded in community wisdom. And it's also driven by the belief that real change starts from the grassroots. Our members are committed to building safer, fairer, and more inclusive societies. And we aren't just responding to digital violence, we are working to prevent it by strengthening community power and justice pathways so that women and girls can speak, lead, and thrive without fear. But yet, there is still a lot of work that we must do. First, women are living these experiences, and so they must be put at the center of all the conversations on digital solutions in order to guide the solutions that we will come up with. Two, we need to expand legal empowerment so that every woman and girl understands her digital rights and knows where to go when those rights are being violated. And the third thing that we need to look at is demanding stronger accountability from government, from tech companies, from the regulators, and the justice institutions. And they must move beyond promises to concrete protections. The future of our region is undeniably digital. We see it already. And if women and girls can't participate safely, then we are choosing a future that, again, leaves half of our population behind. We cannot afford that socially, economically, and morally. So as we mark this 16 days of activism at today's webinar, at today's Zoom, let us remember that digital violence is not inevitable, that we can actually prevent it, and that by working together across borders, sectors, and even generations, that we can build digital spaces where every woman and girl can learn, speak, and thrive without fear. So thank you so much. And let's really learn from today's sessions as we listen to the different speakers that we have and continue this work. I will now hand over to Dr. Wambua. So the floor is yours now, Dr. Wambua.
I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, Doc, please
All
go
right.
Yes,
ahead.
we can.
Okay, thank you very much, Amina, for the opening remarks and for the insights you've shared. You've actually covered everything I would have wanted to say. But that notwithstanding, I'll always have something to say. One is to thank the Grassroots Justice Network with support from Namati International for organizing this and for keeping us connected. And the theme of this year's 16 Days of Activism Against GBV, I think is quite apt in the sense that this problem of digital GBV, or also known as technologically facilitated GBV, has been rising in terms of its significance. As Amina said, digital violence, even though it appears to be something abstract, something that happens in an abstract kind of environment. In many times, it turns out into physical threats and physical harm. Here in Kenya, there is a case that was filed by an Ethiopian who lives here. His uncle had been digitally exposed back in Ethiopia when the civil war was at its peak. He had been exposed by some folks in Addis Ababa as having been a sympathizer of the rebel forces in the Tigray region, and his pictures, contacts were circulated via Facebook. And shortly thereafter, he was killed. So that tells you, and I think that phenomenon is known as doxing. When you put somebody's contacts out there on digital platforms. So he was killed. So the nephew here in Kenya has sued Meta, which owns Facebook, seeking accountability for the physical harm that was brought to his uncle through what we are discussing here. So and it has been researched and found that at least 1 in 3 women globally is affected by digital violence. The problem is even more acute for human rights defenders because anybody who exposes or puts their lives out there in service for communities, they tend to be more at risk. And therefore, human rights defenders, it's said that about 70% of them have experienced a form of digital violence. And for women journalists, 40 of them have experienced this kind of violence. So indeed, it's quite a significant issue that merits more attention. Yet, legal protections extended to people who are at risk seem to be inadequate. Like, for instance, only about 40% of countries globally have legal frameworks that protect people from digital GBV. And therefore, there is need for us to interrogate legal frameworks in our respective countries and find out to what extent do these frameworks offer the protection that's required. But there are also trends that we need to also take into account. Many people are now using digital platforms, basically for their day-to-day engagements, and therefore that exposes people to this kind of violence. But on the other hand, the digital platforms also offer solutions to this kind of violence. Like, for instance, our courts are providing services in the digital space, and therefore it's easier now to access justice through courts. And therefore we should figure out how then do we turn this problem into an opportunity for promoting more protections to those who are at risk using digital platforms. The other thing we also need to reflect on is the violence that we see in Africa. I think Africa now is facing another cycle of restiveness. The Gen Z protests that have been rocking many countries. Those protests have basically been coordinated, and they've been successful because of digital campaigns. But at the same time, the downside is that the campaigners, the prominent people in those protests have also been targeted digitally for harassment. And in many cases, that harassment, digital harassment, has turned out into physical violence. And much of that digital harassment is actually digital GBV. So we need also to reflect how then can we ensure that people have a right to protest, but at the same time, their physical and also digital security is assured. Then also, the other thing we need also to ask ourselves is that the dilemmas posed by, for instance, the expansion of AI, because it has also been used to facilitate digital GBV. And I think Amina has spoken to that. Then also, this whole idea of doxing, even though some people have used it as a means of exacting accountability, because many times those who are in public spaces, those who make decisions, either politicians or bureaucrats in government, they normally carry out their misdeeds under the veil of secrecy. And sometimes it's difficult getting them to account for their actions. So what activists here in Kenya have been doing is posting information about those politicians or bureaucrats and encouraging people on social media to greet those politicians or bureaucrats. And essentially, that's doxing, isn't it? Greeting means making phone calls or sending emails in order to put pressure on those politicians or bureaucrats. But essentially, that's doxing, even though that's been used as an accountability mechanism. So then, how do we balance between the need to exact accountability from public politicians, but at the same time, respect for their digital privacy and protecting them also from digital GBV. And I wish to stop that at this point. At least I've given out the global picture. I'm very sure the discussants today will give us the picture in Africa and in specific countries, and we'll get to appreciate more insights about this topic, and we'll come up with a call to action that every one of us can pick up in our respective countries and push for the change that we need in order to ensure that everybody feels safe when using the digital platforms for whatever purpose. And with that, I wish to stop there. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for these speeches, the situation that do live girls and women in Africa and in the world in general. We will now give the floor to Nana, who is an activist that fights for the rights of women, and she will share a story. Nana, you do have the floor.
Nana, please, you're on. Yeah, it's better.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nana Sule. I will be telling us a story this morning. So please indulge me and just sit back a bit and close your eyes and just listen. So follow my. Okay. I knew a girl who did a bad thing. And it started as a joke. But jokes sometimes are the most dangerous things we tell. But let me tell the story properly. Her name was Zoera. She was a student in Bayero University, Kanu. She lived off campus with two of her friends, Hubna and Amna. They attended lectures together, cooked together, laughed together. The kind of friendship that makes school feel like home. They loved each other. But secretly, Zoera and Amna disliked one thing about Hubna. You see, Hubna was a good girl, the best girl, really. The kind of person who is like family. If you feel sick, she will sit next to you and say, "Sorry, Fa, Allah ya kara lafiya. How do you feel now?" If she cooked rice, she would always add more cups so everyone could eat. She remembered everyone's birthday without needing reminders. She was as beautiful as she was kind. She was almost perfect, but she had one small flaw: her temper. And with it, her sharp mouth. When Hubna was angry, forget it. She would say the most hurtful things. She would insult you without mercy. The things that she would say could send you to your room feeling like the earth should open up and swallow you. She picked on insecurities like she was reading from a list. She would say, "Look at your head, bigger than Zomarok," or "See your nose, you are breathing all the air." And all for some small provocations. Then one day, fate opened the door, literally. Zoera mistakenly walked into the bathroom while Hubna was using it. She apologized and stepped out, but not before she saw it. A long, dark scar across Hubna's back. A secret Hubna never shared. So the girl who mocked other people's bodies had something on hers. Zoera told Amna, but Amna did not believe her. So to prove she was right, Zoera made a terrible decision. She planned to secretly record Hubna's back. And after days of scheming and planning, she got a short video of Hubna beating. In the video, the scar was clear. She sent the video to Amna. And that was all she wanted. An evidence, ammunition for the next time they fought. Proof that Hubna was not perfect either. But then Amna sent it to her best friend Fatima. And then Fatima, who was careless with her phone, forgot the phone at a tutorial and it had no password. Her coursemate who helped her pick the phone saw the video, extracted it, and sent it to a group on Telegram. From one careless share to another, the video kept moving. Till it got to a boy whose advances Hubna had rejected, and he uploaded it anonymously on Facebook. And just like that, it stopped being a joke. You see, Zoera did not mean for things to go that far. She did not mean for Hubna to be seen by strangers like this. She did not mean for comments to pile up, for insults to multiply, and for shame to spread faster than they could wish it away. But intentions do not erase harm. Hubna's parents pulled her out of school. She was made to deactivate all her accounts on social media. And even now, every few months, someone digs up the video again and it trends. This is how a joke becomes violence. This is how gender-based violence moves from offline spaces into our online realities. How a private image becomes a public punishment. And Hubna is not the only one. We all know someone whose life changed because something happened online. And while others laughed, ha, 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 their worlds upended. And so today, as we reflect on 1,000 and more Hubnas, and 1,000 and more ways harm shows up online, I want you to remember, please do not be like Zoera. Remember to use your phones wisely, to use your power to protect, and to always remember that your screen is not a shield. It's a doorway to someone's life. Remember. Okay, thank you. You may open your eyes now.
Wow, merci beaucoup Nana pour cette histoire très émouvante.
Wow, thank you so much for this moving story. It's gonna teach us a huge lesson. The phone, it's useful for us, but we can't play around because it can turn into something against us. Now we're going to introduce the next speakers. First, Crispin. She has a degree in national and international law. She's a paralegal, specialized in women and community and extractivism law, right? And she collaborates with different feminist organizations in DRC and in Africa to fight against social and gender violence. No sound from the speaker. No sound from the speaker.
Joy, can you pick it up from there, please?
All right. Is he back? Is my son back?
No, Joy, just continue, please.
All right, then I'll pick it up. So we have Christine, who has been introduced. We also have Glory Kairi, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and currently serves as the executive assistant at Kituo cha Sheria. She's actively involved as a lawyer with the ISLA Feminist Strategic Litigation Network, ISLA, using law to drive commitment to women and girls, advocacy. Glory is uniquely positioned to guide our conversation today. So please join me in welcoming our speakers. And we'll start with the questions now. And I'll start with Glory. Welcome, Glory.
Thank you very much, Joy.
Okay, so on to the first question very quickly. How would you describe the current state or space of digital violence against women and girls in your context? Also, what are the most common or harmful forms you're seeing? Also, while answering this, please tell us a bit about what you do. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Joy. First of all, to start off with what I do, I am, as you have said, an executive assistant at Kituo cha Sheria. And so I support the organization in conducting research, doing advocacy, as well as strategic litigation that focuses on advancing feminist jurisprudence across the continent. And that's majorly what I do in Kituo at the moment. And so with regards to that, the cultural context, especially within Kenya, is that there are various manifestations of technology-facilitated gender-based violence. So you can see the example that Dr. Wambua highlighted, which is, doxing. We also have the sharing of intimate images, otherwise known as revenge porn. And it's manifested in very many ways. There's also cyber stalking, where someone stalks you online. Of course, you're being deprived of your property online by people hacking your accounts, popularly known as Yahoo Boys, especially in the States. And so those are the most prevalent examples I would highlight when it comes to matters to do with TFGBV that are manifest. I think I would like to perhaps illustrate using a pop cultural reference. So we have a show that is on YouTube. I would encourage all of us to go and watch it. It's known as MTV Sugar. It's from the MTV Foundation, and it highlights how digital violence moves from online. And if one of the ladies assaulted and killed by one of the male characters in the film, in the short series. And so it starts as stalking, and then thereafter it moves to them meeting physically, and thereafter, unfortunately, ending in femicide. And so those are some of the examples that I would like to highlight for everyone to keep at the back of their minds, even as we discuss digital violence. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Glory. And over to you, Crispin. I would like to know, in conflict-affected communities you work with, what forms of violence against women and girls have become most prevalent or most difficult to address, and why? Also, how have these shaped your organization's priorities and interventions? And just like Glory, as you respond, please do let us know a little bit about what you do. Welcome, Crispin.
Merci beaucoup pour la parole.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor. I hope you can hear me. So, first, the situation for armed conflict now, it facilitates the multiplication and proliferation of violence, specifically sexual violence, and yeah, so sexual violence. I'm sorry. I'm not going to use the camera because my connection is not good. So I'll just have it for a couple of minutes and then make the most of the connection without the video. So yeah, I'll turn it off. Okay. So I was saying, in our context with armed violence, sexual violence is facilitated and fosters rape, proliferation as a weapon, as a repression tool. And these are the most common examples of violence that we have in our organization. Here we have illegal extractivism, but also mining, but also the war. So there is rape, forced marriage, sexual exploitation within the community. So our work is becoming larger and larger. Beyond our work, our initial work to eradicate the root cause of violence, now we are supporting the victims, and it all has a huge impact on our strategies and priorities. So beyond strengthening capacity building, we open our activities to supporting the victims medically, psychologically, but also economically for the survivors, plus training about law to empower communities to fight against all types of violence, especially in mining, illegal extraction that didn't meet women's rights in local communities, but also about sexual violence as a weapon in our conflict context that is not being managed. So this is a reflection that we have around our work in the cases of violence that we encounter within our work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. And back to you, Glory. Could you take us through factors that are enabling digital violence to thrive? socially, technologically, legally? And also, could you let us know the intersectionality with offline GBV?
Okay. Thank you for that, Joy. I absolutely love the question in looking, which enables us actually reflect on the things that drive technology facilitated gender-based violence. So I'll start with the social factors. We know that, truth be told, we still live and exist in a very patriarchal society, even here in Africa. And so you find that there's a lot of victim blaming, even in other forms of gender-based violence. So a lot of people, so for instance, if there's a case where a Kenyan woman had taken her phone to get fixed, and then the person who was fixing her phone, removed, took the videos that he found stored on her phone, and then started circulating them. And then you see now that already was a form of how her privacy being infringed, first of all. But you find that a lot of people were asking, instead of sympathizing with the fact that her privacy had been infringed, many people were saying, but you're already a woman. These are things that you're not supposed to be doing. And so you find that there's a lot of victim blaming, which allows whoever it is that has perpetuated them to actually get away scot-free without it being looked at and scrutinized. And then we have the technological factors. Undeniably, we're living, especially post-COVID-19, we're living in a very digitally connected world. And so with regards to this, you find that there are very many platforms coming up. Recently, there's something really scary that has come up, which is generally to do with AI. Well, AI is neither good nor bad. It's basically a tool. In whichever hands it may fall, it might bring about a lot of problems. So we have seen a lot of people generating deepfakes. All they need is basically a photo of you from the neck up, and then they can just transplant your body. So who needs Adobe Photoshop when you have AI that can generate deepfakes? And even to the most trained eye, it's becoming very hard to actually discern and separate something that has been fabricated from something that is real. And also the fact that there's very little regulation. A lot of our governments are very reactive rather than proactive in terms of regulating these mediums. And so with that, then we see that there's a very big problem with that. Also looking at the interconnected nature of things, which takes me to the next factor, which is legal and institutional factors. And of course, now, in spite of all these protections that are afforded, we have transnational crimes happening. So what if someone circulates your images or doxes you from somewhere across the world, let's say in the United States? How exactly will you pursue that? And also you find that there are some nationalities that, if I may say, are better protected as compared to others. And so there's no synergy in terms of the international action when it comes to pursuing digital violence. And so with that now comes to the fact that, if you look at the online-offline continuum, it starts with people violating you online. It starts with bullying online. It starts with so many other manifestations. Bullying online, stalking online, and then before you know it, this person has found out where you live, and so they're stalking you in real life, and so you're afraid for your life. And before we know it, we hear that there's a case reported of femicide, for instance. And so it always starts online because there's a barrier between that, and once the perpetrator says that there is no consequence that arises from them doing whatever it is they're doing online, then they now move to doing it physically. And so I think generally it's for people to, I think we'll get to it, but it's for governments to figure out the online-offline continuum and see how best to safeguard and protect people. Whether intimate or whether public or private, whether intimate or non-intimate, so that people may be protected in whatever space they may be in. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. And I like what you said. Maybe it's time that we are more proactive rather than reactive with how we engage with these issues. So quickly, I'll move over to you, Crispine. Can you share one or two innovative approaches your organization has introduced to support women and girls despite the instability and security challenges? Welcome, Crispine.
Merci beaucoup
Thank
pour
you so
votre
much
question.
for your question
La question sur le stratégie
about
innovative, comme
innovation
je
strategies.
l'ai dit souvent, c'est
As
que
I
on n'a pas de stratégie
often
préétablie
voice, we
ni de
don't have
stratégie
pre-established
mise en place
strategies
parce
or
que c'est une
implemented
situation toujours en
because the
mutation. C'est
situation
que vous
is
pouvez planifier
such
le
that
lundi,
you can
mais souvent
plan
ne
on
pas
Monday
être
and won't be able to
la même
implement
chose que
on
vous
the
allez
next day.
pratiquer le mardi
And
parce
it's
que
not
la
what you're going
situation
to apply
évolue,
on
les
Tuesday
contextes
because
changent, il y
situation
a peut-être des déplacements de
changes, maybe there
population
is
et cela
displacement of people.
fait en sorte que des stratégies
So strategies
préétablies ne sont pas.
we're losing the sound from the
C'est que
speaker.
nous nous adaptons et du
So we try and
c'est révélé.
adapt.
Mais dans la grande partie de notre travail, c'est qu'on s'est
In
basé
most
sur
of our work,
le
we are
pouvoir de leader communautaire
based
parce qu'on sait que
on
du moment où
the
les leaders
power of
communautaires
community
sont forts
leader.
et sont forts,
From the moment they are strong, the community leaders, we've lost the sound. We can also reach survivors, violence survivors. Within our work, first we build the capacity of community leaders. So within the community, the close community, we can reach out to all women. Secondly, we established online communications since displacement moved people our difficulty, we reflected on a kind of action with work meeting online, and it made our work easier, even if there is not a good connection, especially in the Manga territory. We can organize these meetings with women that have an internet access, and these women turn into the person in charge within the community where they don't have internet access. So the mobilization and the involvement is possible because they respond for their peers in the village. This is what we try and do to mobilize the community around the issues. This is what we keep doing as advocacy locally, nationally, or even internationally, depending on the issues and what we want to reach regarding the situation of women. We keep on reflecting about litigation, about psychological support for the women that we support and for our team too. Thank you.
Thank you, Crispine. And it's great to hear that in spite of all the challenges, instability, security, there's still steps being taken. And just as Dr. Mbua said earlier on, that hopefully conversations like this will lead to a call to action to, necessary steps that we can take towards eradication of GBV online or offline. Now, back to you, Glory. What role should government, tech companies, civil society, and individuals play in building safer online spaces for women and girls? Also, what concrete actions or policies do you think are most urgent to push for right now?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I think I love the fact that in your question, you've put an all-encompassing aspect in terms of making sure that there are different players and actors in this. And so generally, one thing I would like for everyone to learn here is that, the state has something we call the due diligence obligation. So its obligation is to make sure that it respects, it fulfills, protects, and protects the rights of every single person. And so the state is the one that we have a social contract with, yes? And so once you pay attention to that, then you know that the government is the one that holds the most responsibility, so to speak. It's the one that will regulate the tech companies. It's the one that will regulate both the public and the private spheres. And so with that, it is up to them to, one, if I may start with that, start by prevention of the TFGBV. So that is putting in place policies and making sure that that never happens, to actually protect anyone that might actually suffer from technology facilitated gender-based violence once it occurs. And the way now protection usually manifests is one, they have to make sure that they've built the capacity of the police to actually carry out the investigations, because these investigations will now go ahead to support the prosecution once they actually decide to prosecute the cases. And then thereafter, once it has gone to the prosecutors, they have to prosecute it, of course, ensuring that it is trauma-informed and survivor-centered. Once that has been done, now it lies to the judiciary or with the judicial officers to ensure, of course, an impartial trial happens, while making sure that that various sorry about that, to make sure that various remedies are accorded to them appropriately. So if it's a cease and desist, then that can be implemented as well. But there are myriad of options that the state can offer in terms of remedies to any gender-based violence survivor or victim. Now, onto the tech companies, they ought to realize that, as much, of course, now the government will regulate them, but it's also up to the tech companies to realize the power that they wield. A lot of them, if you look at their manifesto, is they wish to democratize technology generally. So if it's Spotify, they wish to democratize music and make sure that everyone gets a piece of it. If it's stuff to do with Meta and all these other organizations and X, they wish to democratize social engagement. And so it's up to them to make sure that they actually protect and monitor these systems, because I mean the government has given you the license to operate, and so with great power, let them know it comes great responsibility. And so it's not for them to say that it is not our fault. I mean, otherwise, why do your platforms exist? Right? And to know, sorry, apologies for that. Yeah, it's up to them to actually recognize and recognize what exactly they need to do. And for us, we need to realize that, I don't know if I'm audible. Yes, I am. Okay, thank you. Yes. So now finishing up, I think it's also important for we as citizens to also engage and respect other people. It's for us to always, one thing I've always had being discussed is that my human rights end, not necessarily end, but my human rights end in quotes where another person's human rights begin. And so if, as much as you have the freedom of expression, does that mean that you can express yourself in any way, right? You have to keep in mind, how will my actions actually affect someone else? And so I would encourage you, now let me make another pop culture reference, being the Gen Z that I am, to encourage all of us to go watch, it's a series called Hated by the Nation. It's on Netflix, to see the repercussions and the impacts of people not exercising their digital rights very well. So you do have the freedom of expression, but remember, it's not absolute. And so it's up to us to make sure that we do that. And I think finally, just as I sum up, at the African level, because we're all Africans, okay, hopefully all of us are Africans who are attending, we have the Convention on Violence, the AU Convention that was adopted in February of this year. It does highlight what cyberspace is, but there are a couple of problematic aspects with the convention itself. It doesn't really fully describe what TFGBV is. The very detailed way that we have, listed it in this webinar, it is not in that convention. Considering it's a very binding treaty, we find that very wanting and very concerning. And so it's for the entire African continent to actually look at the entirety of the convention and actually see how we can better it to make sure it better reflects the current times that we are in, so that no woman is left behind and we don't leave any gaps in the policy, so that we can be sure to protect every single woman, no matter where you are or no matter what identity you hold. I think I'll hand it over to you, Joy. Thank you.
Yes, Glory, before you leave,
Mhm.
very briefly, just share with us specific strategies that you have used in your work that have proven effective in preventing or responding to digital violence. Also, how do you adapt this to different communities? You can keep it brief, but slowly.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing I would highlight is we have ours is majorly centered on legal empowerment. Just like what NAMAT usually does, we focus on every single person, whatever position you hold, to know, use, and shape the law, right? And so with that, the first strategy we usually use is conducting research. So once we've conducted research, I believe UNFPA has done a very good job in conducting said research and laying the groundwork. And so we are also working on coming up with research that actually buttresses whatever it is that we are going to advocate for. And then after that, we now engage the paralegals on the ground, because truth be told, they're the ones that understand what is happening to the very Kenyans especially in Kenya. Let me speak about the Kenyan context. That definitely do that. And these paralegals, we equip them with the relevant information, show them the reporting mechanisms, go to the ODPC if your privacy is breached, go to this person if this happens, you can lodge a petition for such like things. And so we engage them and educate them on the same, with the hopes that they will actually go and disseminate the said information. And we try to actually develop material that is adequate to them. So we might do it in Swahili, we might do it in the local languages. And so we try to contextualize whatever knowledge it is that we are doing. And then when all of that is happening as well, we still engage in case support, that is offering legal aid to those who might need it. And also engaging in strategic litigation once we notice this is a systemic issue, so that we can be able to either give an amicus brief in a case, and show the impact of TFGBV on women and girls, while also, lodging a case that will, of course, protect the rights of the people who've been affected in this. So those are the three things that we usually do when it comes to such. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Glory. Thank you so much for that. I see we're almost at the top of the hour, but I have two last questions for Crispine. So first one being, can you share one or two innovative approaches your organization has introduced to support women and girls despite the instability and security challenges? Welcome, Crispine.
Oui, on s'appuie sur les leaders communautaires.
So yes, we work with community leaders, but we also work with paralegals, because community leaders facilitate. No sound from the speaker. The paralegal can help out with legal support for survivors and can document violence cases. They help us organizing our advocacy work and litigation. Moreover, we work with community circles to raise awareness in local languages about issues, to empower legally the communities, because we know that when women are trained, when they are informed, they can and facilitate litigation, and they can denounce and report. So we know where to take the case. They know it too, and our work is made easier by the support of community leaders and paralegals. And it's also supported by their awareness raised within the communities. Beyond all those strategies with community leaders, paralegals can support the circles, the work of the paralegals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Crispine. And finally, what impact have these innovations had on preventing violence against women and girls? Also, what key lessons have you learned from implementing them in such volatile environments?
Merci pour la question. L'impact de toutes ces innovations, de toutes ces réflexions
Thank you
sur
very much. The impact of all these innovations against women and girls submitted to violence and gender-based violence is that, and we are seeing that, is that women always try to use the education and has a power to sensibilize. The women will transform into actresses to make things move, and that's the greater impact of the women. There will be a rising of the cases of denunciations because women will be better informed. And another impact is that women will know better their rights and how to use them. So it will facilitate and impact all the work in terms of legal actions, because there will be actresses for action. They will feed and the justice to create precedents and help other women to get access to justice. There is also the information that we do give to women about the implementation of actions, but in the past, women didn't know how to act, but now they do have some more information because we do give them this information, and it helps the women and girls to do more advocacy work with other women. They know better things. They know how to react against changes, and they are more ready to fight for their rights, such as in the mining industry or forced labor. We know that it is a great impact that we can have. So we do have to mobilize, go on mobilizing women with actions of knowledge, reivindication of their rights, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
All right, that's it for the discussion. Thank you so much for your insightful conversations. And Crispin and Glory, looking forward to the next one. But this juncture, I'd like to hand it over back to Mesan. Welcome.
Merci beaucoup, Joy. Mes excuses tout à l'heure.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I have a bad connectivity today. Right, we do thank our speakers because they shared very interesting insights in difficult contexts and many challenges they do face. We will now give you the floor to you participants so that you could share your reflections, comments, or recommendations. We would like to hear you. If you have any doubt, you can write them in the chat or just raise your hand and open your mic. We will try to answer as much as possible. So please go ahead, don't be shy.
Demandez la parole par une levée de main au niveau des
Just
réactions.
ask for the floor if you want to share something, or please put your question in the chat.
Quelqu'un veut-il poser une question?
Any comment, any question, anything to share?
J'espère que vous m'entendez.
I hope that you do hear me well.
Oui, on vous entend.
Yes, we can hear you.
Des questions?
Is there any question?
Alors, nous constatons que il n'y a
Right,
pas de
so we can see that there are no special questions, but
notre réseau est un
Mason,
réseau
there's a
où
hand
nous
up.
sommes
you
tous
know,
dans-
I am Mesan. Mesan?
Ah, ok.
There's a hand up. So
Oui, allez, vous pouvez prendre la parole.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, hello everyone. Hello everyone. Can you hear me?
hi, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. You can hear me. Okay, my name is Aisha Jibo. I work with Isa Wali Empowerment Initiative, and I've heard and seen the correlation and the similarities in the work we do and what was discussed. For in IWay, we work with community. Can you hear me? Yes, in IWay, we work with community-based paralegals, and we also work with the community dialogue committees. And these community-based paralegals and community dialogue committees also provide, let's say, awareness when it comes to digital violence, and also they deal with such issues at the grassroots. So I've seen this correlation and then similarities in what was said and then the work we do at IWS.
Mary, your hand is up. So
Merci beaucoup pour ce commentaire et
Thank you very
cet
much
appui.
for this
Alors, nous
comment
avons
and for your support.
vraiment nous a fait un commentaire dit la violence subie par
We
la technologie est un crime
also
qui
have a comment in the chat that we do need
différemment les femmes. Merci.
to highlight the fact that technology
Tout à l'heure, vous
facilitated
pouvez appeler
violence is
enlevant
a
les mères,
gendered
bien,
crime
envoyer votre question dans le
affecting
chat.
women.
La parole vous est accordée. Quelqu'un a-t-il
Please
encore
take
une
the
question à
floor.
poser?
I can see that there is a hand raised. Please go ahead, open your mic.
Nous avons Barassa également qui a fait un commentaire.
We have another comment in the
Ce n'est pas
chat
une question, nous
about
le remercions beaucoup.
the fact. It's a comment, it's not a question, and it's important.
Ismaël, vous avez la
Ismail, you
parole.
do have the floor. I can see your hand raised.
Je constate la main levée de Ismaël et de Nicolas.
Komachidi. Yeah, good day all. All the participants. My name is Komachidi Obasi. I'm a paralegal with Isawale, Nigeria. As regards to the regulation of this digital violence, from what Kenya said, it's the duty of the government. But the problem you have with the government, some certain governments, that they regulate this policy selfishly to protect their interests so that the society will not, use it against them. But most of them are violating these laws and they are being hidden under the carpet. So what is how can can that be another organization that will regulate these policies so that everybody will be carried along in checkmating this crisis? Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Ismaël.
Thank you very much, Ismail.
Vous pouvez prendre la parole.
Nicolas, you have the floor. Thank you very much. And hi, everybody.
Avec le sueur poids de dos que j'ai suivi les témoignages.
It was very interesting to follow all the testimonies and exchanges since the beginning of this webinar. And I was wondering, what is the spirit? How do you feel these women? Do they have any strategy when they want to turn to legal authorities, for instance? Because in our country, it is something that we do speak about, but it's not so easy. In some countries, it is more difficult than in others. Taking into account the difficult reality that we do have. So we would like to know about the framework, the legal framework in which the women and girls are seeking more protection, maybe the need to reinforce the laws, and then when they have some digital harassment issues, maybe it would be interesting to try and approach the digital operators to see if there is something to do, maybe to have a kind of blacklists. That would mean that it's not giving a second or third chance if somebody is doing some digital violence. There should be some way to, for instance, block the messages that are coming to you if they are coming from people doing some digital harassment. Thank you very much, Nicolas. The law that would be able to support people victims of gender-based violence. And we could try to see if Glory wants to say something about this. Glory, are you here? Do you want to take the floor?
Yes, I'm here. Could you kindly repeat the question?
Alors, Nicolas nous demande, dans votre contexte au Kenya,
in your context in Kenya, what are the laws on which you do base yourself to defend the rights of women victims of gender-based violence? Do you have any strategies, any legal strategies, we were wondering if there were some special laws you could rely on, or if everybody was doing what they wanted. So what is the legal framework you do based upon your actions? Thank you.
Okay, bon. Thank you for the question. So to answer your question, we do have a couple of laws that govern, that seek to protect women generally, but also, if I may say, do apply to men. So the first one is we have the protection, the Victims Protection Act, So that one always accords victims either of domestic violence or even of other actions any kind of protection under the law so that you can get the appropriate remedies that are due to you. So for instance, if you are a victim of sexual conflict, such as what is happening in the DRC, then you'd actually be eligible to get, say, compensation under that act. You can also get protection, such as if someone is stalking you, then you can get an order, a restraining order against them so that they won't be able to harm you in any way. We also have the Computer Misuse and Cyber Crimes Act. Now that one focuses on people using basically the cyberspace or the internet in a wrong way. So for instance, in sharing intimate videos or in bullying someone online. So those are some of the protections that are accorded to women. And then now in terms of sexual violence, we do have the Sexual Offences Act, also with a couple of provisions in the Penal Code that touch on that. And these now specifically prosecute sexual crimes that may be perpetuated against either men or women and children as well. So those are some of the laws I can say off the top of my head that seek to protect women. But just like any other law, implementation is usually not very well done. For the sexual offenses, we do have specific courts in the country that deal with implementation of the same. So such as if there's defilement happening, we have children's court that, prosecute and deal with such. We have sexual, of course, now the ones that special courts that deal with sexual violence. And so now but they have yet to be spread across the country in a way that would make all women and girls be able to access them. In terms of access to justice, whenever you're giving your testimony in court, because of the sensitivity of gender-based violence, then we usually have them in camera. So it's only the accused, the judge, the clerk, and the relevant advocates, lawyers, and intermediaries who are usually allowed in court. The general public is usually asked to leave. So those are some of the protections that are accorded to persons who have faced gender-based violence. We are trying to push for more protection for refugees because they're an often forgotten demographic. And also, we're also trying to push for intricate laws that can, deal with TFGBV specifically, as well as other crimes such as femicide. But the Constitution also protects us quite well. Yes, I hope I've answered your question. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Glory, pour votre développement. J'espère que Nicaise a
Glory,
réponse à sa question. Et il y a une seconde question.
There's another question in the chat, but about gender-based violence. It occupies so much space. So we're going to open the discussion after us. And Amina will talk about the work that has been done so far. Thank you so much.
Amina, vous avez la parole.
Amina? Now you have the floor.
Amina est avec nous?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I hope we all enjoyed and learned from today.
Amina, we can hear you again.
Alors,
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, okay.
D'accord.
So I hope we all enjoyed today's session and we have learned also. There was a lot of learning from what our guests were sharing with us. We also heard from Nana Sule, who shared a really powerful story about how the digital space can end up being a place of trauma, hurt, and stigmatization. And that is a reality of what a lot of women and girls and even men are experiencing every day. we're seeing it in the digital space. We learned a lot. There were lots of rich insights into the evolving landscape of digital violence against women and girls across Africa. It was highlighted that almost a third of women are now affected by digital harms, which include online bullying, non-consensual sharing of intimate images, misuse of personal data, and that these violations cut across all social and professional levels. So even women in high government positions, to the ordinary woman and girl in the rural and urban communities, and in the regions that are affected by rising insecurity and armed conflict, which is the risks are intensifying. So we see that women and girls are facing sextortion, there's rape, forced marriages, and perpetrators are exploiting both the digital vulnerabilities and the fragile security context. There was also concern about the rise of AI, use of AI-generated images, which makes it extremely difficult to distinguish what and what is not. And it's thereby enabling manipulation, defamation, and psychological harm. So this technological shift really demands that urgent policy and justice system adaptations are put in place. While many governments have enacted laws on cybercrime, data protection, and violence against women, implementation continues to remain weak and public awareness is low. There's an urgent need for relevant laws specifically addressing digital SGBV, and for police and other law enforcement actors to be educated and better equipped so that they know how to respond to these new forms of digital violence, and also that there's no synergy between governments in working together to address this. So this is between countries. There was also an emphasis that the governments need to be more proactive instead of reactive, and regulate technology providers in ways that would protect women and girls without stifling their creativity. Across communities, we heard about strategies that are being used, that they're working with civil society organizations are working with community leaders, and they're training paralegals who are being trained on cyber safety, not only for themselves, but for the community members that they work with. So they help women and girls to understand what their digital rights are, how to identify risks, and where and how to seek support. They also provide support with legal aid cases. These paralegals are engaging in community outreach using the local languages. They're using radio as a form of sensitization and awareness campaigns, and they're bringing vital knowledge to the grassroots. By working with women, the impact is that once women know their rights, they then also share this knowledge with others, and they're more ready to fight for their rights, as seen in the case of, an example was given in the mining industry and forced labor. It was also discussed that, shared that state actors, that's our governments, they have due diligence regulations, and they should put in place policies to protect. And even though some governments, like was shared again in the DRC, they have laws in place that not only are protecting the victims, but there is also including compensation. Tech companies should also realize that the power they have, they should also protect their customers, and that with power comes responsibility. And also that citizens should engage and respect other people. They need to know that yes, they do have freedom of expression, but there are responsibilities that go with them. In fact, one of the speakers recommended watching a film series called Hated by the Nation, and it is on Netflix. For anybody who's interested, it's Hated by the Nation. Then concerning, there was also mention of that all countries should ratify the AU Convention on Violence Against Women, but that it has its gaps, its weaknesses, which should be looked at. In one of them is that it doesn't really describe what is digital SGBV, but it does provide for cross-border collaboration. And finally, I'd say that with digital use rapidly expanding across the region, it's no longer a niche concern. It is a widespread social and justice issue requiring coordinated action at the grassroots, the community level, state level, national and regional levels. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Amina.
Thank you very much, Amina, for this insight. I think we're close to the end. I don't know if Joy, my co-facilitator, has something to add. Joy?
No, I don't really have anything to add other than thanking everyone for coming on board and being part of the conversation.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank
Merci
you to
beaucoup et nous allons vous demander
Thank you very much.
vos caméras pour que nous
Please
prenions
turn on the camera so we can take a picture, family picture.
Merci surtout à tout le monde
Thank
de
you,
nous avoir rejoints.
everyone. Thank you
How do
for.
we do this one?
So please, if you are in a position
Yeah.
to turn on your camera, kindly do that whilst I take the picture.
Sorry, just a second,
Okay.
because we have a paralegal, so we're trying to see how we can take that they can be seen as well.
Sure. So whilst we wait for Iway, let me quickly highlight that Iway actually have convened some paralegals to be part of this discussion. So as we were having this discussion, they were translating the information from this meeting to these paralegals in Hausa language. And that is one of the strategies that Iway is using to disseminate information and empower these paralegals in northern Nigeria. So if you can put on a smile, I'm taking the pictures now. Let me take the first one. Okay. So just a minute. Yeah. So here's the first one. Yeah. And wait, I have to take the second one as well. So please wait. Let me do this. There are 2 pages. So please don't be using any any emoji, emoji in terms of clapping, love, please, so I can take the picture. This is the final one, and great. So thank you very much, everyone, and we wish you. We know it is in the early stages, but we want to wish you a Merry Christmas, a Merry Christmas, and then a prosperous New Year.
So we'll just assemble behind and everyone gets in the picture. Just give us a minute. Okay.
Okay. Okay. I think that's all right. Okay, so are we ready? Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay. So
Okay, you can go ahead, take the picture.
Okay. So this is additional ones to what we've taken already. Okay, great. So thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we wish you a
All right, thank you.
happy holidays, and we'll come back more stronger and connected in the new year. Thank you very much, everyone, and bye-bye.
Hello, Iwe. Where are you guys?
Hey, Fatima, how are you?
Good, good. I see everybody.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, I joined the programs. I'm looking forward to put funding for adolescent protection. So from time to time, I look at the opportunities that are in the network. Yeah.
Okay, bye, everyone.
All right.
Good night now.
Muna 10 to 10.